Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV. Listen, this came across. We've got a lot of stuff going on with in politics and with our president and all of that good stuff, and they are out here. Basically, ICE is raiding a lot of businesses, and today we learned that they raided a Hyundai plant outside of Savannah, Georgia, and they rounded up about nearly 500 people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push add this to the stage, and as I do that, make sure you all hit that like button. And again, subscribe. And once you subscribe, you'll be open to a plethora of videos that I've done under celebrity legal news, pop culture chats, and all types of things. All right, so let's get into it. Let's go ahead and get this video out the way. And before we do that, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Let's add this. So this is AP News, and this article was written by Russ Bynum and Kim Tong-hyun. So let's get into it. Watch the video, and then we'll get into the article.
Homeland Security investigations, in coordination with our law enforcement partners, executed a judicial search warrant as part of an ongoing criminal investigation into allegations of unlawful employment practices and serious federal crimes. The investigation resulted in the arrest of 475 individuals. There was a majority of Korean nationals from the 475. There was a network of subcontractors and subcontractors for the subcontractors there. So the employees worked for a variety of different companies that were on the site. Yesterday, Homeland Security investigations, in coordination with our law enforcement partners, executed a judicial search warrant as part of an ongoing criminal investigation into allegations of unlawful employment practices and serious federal crimes. The investigation resulted in the arrest of 475 individuals. There was a majority of Korean nationals from the 475.
All right, listen. So I looked back at this, and I was like, they had Korean naturals. And when I heard about this plant, I was like, when did this plant open? Because I remember them building this plant. So when did this plant open? Now, according to the Googles, it says the Honda Meta plant in Savannah, Georgia began its grand opening celebration in March 26, 2025. Now they had it. It says with the first vehicle rolling off the assembly line in October 2024. So they were getting the plant together, and they opened officially on March 26, 2025. They broke ground on October 2022. Production of the first vehicles, which was the 2025 Iconic 5, and their grand opening celebration was on March 26, 2025. Excuse me. Yes. So let me show you the dates that I'm looking at. These are the dates, key dates. So you're talking about a plant and that's amazing. They broke ground on 2022, and they were finished by 2024 to where they had vehicles rolling off the plant. Let's get back to this article real quick. So they had 475 nationals, Korean nationals. Now, if you're not familiar, these Hyundai plants, these Kia plants that have been opening down in the South, and they are opening in the South, like states like Georgia and Alabama, and I think in Tennessee, and there's another place. They're opening in these particular places because these particular places, these states lured a lot of those places to come in because of the fact that they are an at-risk state. That just means that basically, in the nutshell, they do not like unions, And so it's like you work at the plant, you work at the plant. There is no union at the plant. You're not going to have any of those things. So they can hire and fire at will. So let's get into this article. Immigration authority says Friday that they detained 475 people, most of them South Korean nationals. Now, why is that important? Because Hyundai and Kia are South Korean cars. So they are the manufacturer of those cars. They have worked out agreements with a few states in the United States, and I told you at least two of them, that they will build plants here in the United States, and that they will build those cars and everything in the United States. The sprawling manufacturing site in Georgia where Korean automaker Hyundai makes electric vehicles. Stephen Schrank, the lead Georgia agent of the Homeland Security investigation, said during a news conference Friday that the raid resulted from a months-long investigation into allegations of illegal hiring at the site and was the largest single-site enforcement operation in the agency's two-decade history. The Thursday raid targeted one of Georgia's largest and most high-profile manufacturing sites, where Hyundai Motor Group a year ago began manufacturing electric vehicles at a $7.6 billion plant. The site employs about 1,200 people in an area about 25 miles west of Savannah, where bedroom communities bleed into farms. Governor Brian Kemp and other officials have touted this to be the state's largest economic development project. Okay? So this is huge for the state of Georgia. And now the state of Georgia has to be reeling and has to reel because the federal government has come in and conducted a raid. And again, this site says it employs 1,200 people, but they picked up 475. Now, that's about that's a big part of their workforce. That's a huge part of their workforce. Now, they're saying, according to, we're going to get back into this article, but hold on just a second. They picked up almost 40% of their workforce. No, it didn't. Hush, Pam. Math was never your specialty. Don't even try to act like you know what you're talking about. Agents focused their operation on an adjacent plant that is still under construction, at which Hyundai has partnered with LG Energy Solution to produce batteries that power the electric vehicles. Court records filed this week indicate that prosecutors do not know who hired what it called hundreds of illegal aliens. The identity of the actual company or contractor hiring the illegal aliens is currently unknown. The South Korean government, now this is what's interesting. The South Korean government expressed concern. Because let's be real clear, they have a plant that has 1,200 some people. And they claim that this was a months-long investigation. Koreans are rarely caught up in immigration enforcement compared to other nationalities. Only 46 Koreans were deported during the 12-month period that ended September 30th, 2024, out of more than 270 removals for all nationalities, according to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Because if we want to be just fair, Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, Asians, they are rules of law kind of folk. That's what they say. And they like to keep their heads low and not get caught up in any kind of trouble. So this is interesting that this type of scandal is going to go on, because going back into Korea, there might be some heads rolling, or maybe not. The business activities of our investors and the rights of our nationals must not be unjustly infringed in the process of U.S. law enforcement, South Korean Foreign Minister spokesperson Lee Jae-woon said in a televised statement from Seoul. Lee said the ministry is dispatching diplomats from its embassy in Washington and consulate in Atlanta to the site and planning to form an on-site response team. Now, immigration attorney Charles Cook says that 2 of his clients were detained and had arrived from South Korea under a visa waiver program that enables them to travel for tourism or business for stays of 90 days or less without obtaining a visa. So this is going to be interesting because, again, we have in the feds are making this big swing about moving and getting out illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, not aliens, but illegal immigrants. And so now they have hit one of their top business partners here in the United States, which are the South Koreans. Now, let's be very clear. There are other countries that have been trying to lure the South Koreans to their borders to open up plants. One of them is Mexico. The other is Canada. Now, I know that a lot of our brethren over there in MAGA country and in the State Department and the Fed are really big about moving people out and moving these legal immigrants out and all those things. But at what cost is that going to cost you all in terms of jobs for the people in your state? Now, it may not even be, and I'm trying to use my words carefully because I want it to be known that if you have come here illegally, yes, you need to go. Dust yourself off and try it again. Fill out the paperwork that you're supposed to fill out. Fill it out properly. Dot your I's and cross your T's. But I think a lot of this has to do with the bravado of it all.
In partnership with I.C.E, I'm restocking our back to school essentials at Walmart. We grab I.C.E every year to help protect our home. I make sure I wipe.
It has to do with the bravado of it all versus you doing a coordinated strike and getting the people who you know you're supposed to get. Because I'm quite sure American citizens got caught up in this sweep. They say that they didn't, but I'm quite sure that if you detain 475 people, I want you to have coordinated strikes. You should know who you're looking for. Instead of just running in, handcuffing everybody, you should know who you're looking for. Because as an American citizen, your name shouldn't be anywhere on immigration paperwork because you're not an immigrant. Unless you are naturalized. But if you were born here in this country, your name shouldn't be on any kind of immigration paperwork. The feds should know who they're looking for. And 9 times out of 10, it seems like the feds don't know who they're looking for. But anyway, let's read on. Strank told reporters in Savannah that while some of the detained workers illegally crossed the U.S. borders, others had entered the country illegally but had expired. Oh, here you go. That's an issue, a problem, because again, you come in here illegally, dust yourself off, and you're going to have to go home. But if you came in here legally, thinking that you were going to overstay your welcome, yeah, you got to go too. Had entered on a visa waiver that prohibit them from working. So he says that he said that some of these detained workers for the battery manufacturer, while others was employed by contractors and subcontractors at the construction site. They don't know for sure how many of the 475 detained were Korean nationals, but that they made up a majority. No one has yet to be charged with any crime, he said, but the investigation is ongoing. Child. They are not playing with y'all. Let me be very clear. They are not playing with y'all. And a lot of people would, first we heard it from, the Mexicans and those that are coming from south of the border, particularly South America, Central America, and Mexico. We hear it from them. Oh, they're coming after you, Black Americans next. Then we hear it from our the Caribbeans, the Jamaicans, the Haitians, uh, Grenadians, all of them. And then we hear it from the continental Africans. Oh, well, they're going to be coming for you. I don't understand why you acting like you're safe. Clearly, clearly, it really took about 3 or 4 months for people to understand and realize that those of us whose ancestors date back to chattel slavery, there's no deporting us. We do not get deported unless you decide.
In partnership with I.C.E, I'm restocking our back to school essentials at Walmart. We grab I.C.E every year to help protect our home and make sure.
Let me close that up because it just keeps coming up to. Anyway, unless you have renounced your citizenship and then you've come back, so now you're considered to be an immigrant. And one of the things that's interesting me is for those American citizens who are picking up several different visas or passports from other countries. But if your ancestors date back to chattel slavery, you're not an immigrant. And I think that that's difficult for some. I don't know why that is so difficult for some people to understand. I really don't know why that is so difficult for people to understand. But it all of this is showing that a lot of you all are not safe. A lot of you all have come in here illegally, and you may or may not have any paperwork showing who you are, but they're still coming. A lot of you all that have come in legally but let your visas or things expire, they're definitely coming after you. Because you got paperwork on file. And the math ain't mathing, and the stamps aren't stamping, and the paperwork is not adding up right. Y'all have paperwork that says that y'all were supposed to be gone in 2019. It's 2025. So, wow. They've raided a plant in Georgia. So, all of these places, with all of these, because everyone is thinking, oh, they're going into the communities and they're pulling you out. No, they're going to your work sites. They're going to your work sites and pulling you out. And it doesn't matter if you're from the south of the border. It doesn't matter if you're from the continental Africa. It doesn't matter if you're from Europe. It doesn't matter if you're from north of the border. And it doesn't matter if you are from the Caribbean islands, the West Indies. It is not mattering. They're coming to get you if your paperwork is not in order. And I know some people are saying, like, well, y'all need to protest, y'all need to help. There is in that issue, I do not know what you expect for us to do. Because if you're illegal and you're not supposed to be here, you got to go home. If you've overstayed your visa, you got to go home. Get your paperwork together. We understand. I understand clearly sometimes things just get who had hadn't had something to lapse. I understand. But here's also what I understand. For those of you that had your paperwork in order, and got your citizenship, y'all voted for this. You voted for this, knowing that Meemaw and them hadn't been naturalized yet. Y'all voted for this. I'm quite sure that there are some people out there, Black Americans. I would hope that they're not on the front lines of all of this because, again, if you are a Black American, you are not an immigrant. And you can support people without putting your bodies in jeopardy or in danger. Because there are other things that now are taking your attention. You have the federal government now sending troops to cities with either Democratic or Black American mayors. And I'll say it again. You have the federal government sending troops, which doesn't seem legal because if I remember my civics, that the military can't operate on American soil. There has to be something huge and big. And this doesn't seem, it doesn't seems like there's some steps that have been missed. Because if you're a city with a Democratic or a Black mayor, the federal government is sending troops and tanks to those cities when those mayors haven't called for assistance. It's not a natural disaster. And the money that is being spent for those troops to be in that city is enormous. But you're supposed to be the fiscally responsible government right now. You got rid of hundreds of thousands of people from the federal government. You sliced all of these programs and things like that. But then you're taking that money and spending what? $1.5 million a day for these troops to be out there. And I see now that a lot of social media has been depressed to where anybody reporting on that has been suppressed. So they won't show you in Washington, D.C. that most of those troops are on trash duty. And that trash is the trash that they're generating to patrol the city. And we hear that they're going to Chicago, Los Angeles. And again, any city that has a Democratic mayor or a Black mayor, those are the cities that are being targeted. But anyway, I just wanted to come in and talk to you all about the raid at the Hyundai plant in Georgia and some of the implications that may be coming from that. It is going to be interesting to see what the South Koreans are going to say. It's going to be interesting to see how many of this 475 that's been detained are either illegal or they don't have the proper paperwork to be working and living in the country. It is going to be interesting. And if there's any update or anything, I'll let y'all know. All right, people. That is my little rant for my pop culture chat. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. I will be doing my celebrity and celebrity legal news on Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Excuse me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope to see you all then. And if there's anything that's coming up over the weekend, I'll definitely jot back in here to let y'all know. All right, people. Please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, bye-bye.